Mic check, 1, 2. All right, everyone, we are live. Welcome back to a Friday night live stream here at Christ Center Ironworks. Tonight we're going to focus on a Nordic style or a Viking style door knocker. Let's go over to camera number 2, Jess. That way I can show it in a little bit more detail what we're going to be forging on tonight. I made this one earlier. This is actually going to be going to the Good of the Land Fest, and I'll be offering this up at the Veterans Benefit Auction. So that's why I was making up this knocker, and I figured, you know what, it makes a great live stream. I can shout out the Good of the Land Fest while I'm at it, and it works out very well. And hopefully we can see that on camera. Can we, Jess?
Yep, we're good.
All right, we're good to go. So, but anyways, we're going to be starting with this piece first, the actual knocker portion, making the wolf's head, dog's head, dragon's head. It's a figurative type carving head. This you might see on like a Viking ship on the prow of the boat. You'd see this at the front, and then you would see this little curly Q tail at the rear of the boat a lot of times on Viking ships, and so therefore it's a very Norse type thing to do. I will also make a nail and washers, decorative washers for this. So we're going to see how much we can get through tonight. The main portions that I want to take and show is this portion here, the knocker portion, the clevis, forging the clevis portion here, and forging the decorative washers. Everyone's seen videos on making nails, so if we get to that, that'll be a bonus. But I want to forge the main components of this knocker that make it a knocker and not just a flat ornamentation laying on a table somewhere. So hopefully that'll go well, and we'll get right into it. I'll get a bar hot and we'll start talking to peeps. See how they all been doing this week, Jess.
Dana says it looks a little bit cold. Yeah, here in Michigan it's about 45 right now.
Yep, it's going to be a little bit cold, but that's all right. It's going to get a lot colder, so just got to button up. So hopefully we're coming through loud and clear. Everything's working out all right. We were running a little bit late to the stream today, but nonetheless, we were able to take and get it started. So hopefully it's a good stream this evening and everybody enjoys and learns something. So who do we have in the stream, Jess? Because we're almost hot and ready to go for the first stage of this.
All right, we have a Jason DuBois says hi and thanks for all I do to help out with the show. You're welcome. Spencer Coots, welcome. Page 76 Metalcraft, Doe Creek Forge, Daniel Crawford, Ben Toombs, Drayson's Forge, Darren Rudman, just to name a few.
Good to see all the regulars, and if you wouldn't mind, Jess, you need to speak up a little bit for me because I can't hear you from over there. So Jessica's about 20 feet that way, so it makes it a little difficult to hear her sometimes. So, but welcome everybody. It's good to have you here. Good to see a lot of familiar faces, or well, hear about some familiar faces anyhow. Thank you guys for supporting and dropping in. I will be running until 7 p.m. So if you do need to go somewhere, get something else done or whatever and come back, I'll be running until 7 p.m. But if you come in at 7 p.m., you're going to miss the whole process. But if you do happen to miss this stream, this will be uploaded so you can watch it on the replay. That's always an option as well. But yeah, let's do this first section, Jess. Let's go over to the anvil. So the first step in this process is to take and create the snout. We're going to lay on, just a little more than a cube of material, and we're going to use half on, half off blows on the near side edge of the anvil. And we're going to make sure we correct any sort of swelling or spreading that it had from that. And that's the first stage of our situation there that we need to have happen. Now, I didn't say what size material I was working with, so I'll go ahead and mention that now. The size material I'm working with is 1/2 inch thick by 5/16 inch wide mild steel. So that's 12.5 mil by 16 mil wide material. and I probably approximately set that on about an inch or about 25 mil onto the anvil. The reason why that measurement there is arbitrary is because you're going to adjust this based upon what you want this to be. If you want this to be a dragon head, you might draw out this snout a little bit more. So you might set a little more material on and leave it, you know, open the mouth up a little wider and turn it into a dragon head. If it's going to be a dog's head and or wolf head type deal, you're going to have it a lot shorter, this snout portion right here. But that's the first stage. As you can see, it's put a little bit of a bend in it. That's okay. Just leave that. We don't need to straighten that up right now. All right.
Daniel Crawford says, put her closer to the fire. No frozen Mrs. Jessica, LOL. Yeah, actually I sit, it's kind of specific why I sit here. I'm in direct line of the router in the house so that we get good signal strength. That way we can bring you guys a lovely live stream.
Exactly, so that's the whole secret to her sitting clear over there. It puts her in direct line side of the router, which gives us the best streaming possibility without any interference. But yeah, any questions, Jess, about what we're doing or otherwise?
Stan Irving brought up this one. Do you ever preheat the anvil when it's really cold? And this was quite the topic of discussion last year during our live streams as well.
So, my belief system on that, and this is purely mine, preheating anvils is an absolute waste of time. And the point is because one, you're trying to take and heat up a mass of steel. So Olga here's 465 pounds. I'm interested in getting work done. I'm not interested in heating up an inanimate object. I'm interested in making inanimate objects. And so sitting there trying to preheat anvils, I've never seen an anvil shatter or break at all just because it was cold. Maybe there's some places around the world that it could get that cold in, but in any place I've ever lived, it's been moderate climates. And I've forged on anvils when it was -30 with no ill effect, and I've never snapped anything off or broke anything off or anything like that. I just don't feel like that's a logical thing to be doing, is taking a blowtorch to the side of your anvil. Now, the anvil top will slightly warm over a whole day of use, and that's fine enough at that. But when I say slightly warm, I'm probably saying with doing something like this, I might get it to body temp on the top or just right around the edges, but the rest of it, you could probably still stick your tongue to, and to much effect, kind of like licking an ice cube, you know, or a frozen metal pole. Don't do that, kids, this winter. But yeah, so that's my answer on that. I do not preheat my anvil. I see it as a big waste of time.
Granddad's Forge says, if you sleep with your anvil, it's always warm.
Granddad's, that's hilarious. Always warm. Yeah, well, it depends on whether I behave myself or not, whether I get to sleep with my anvil or not. You take that however you will. Ain't that right, Jess? Uh-huh.
How heavy a hammer do you use while you're heating and beating?
1 3/4 pounds. That's all that is. So, that's an easy one to answer. Thank you for the great question. So this is good and hot. Let's go back over to the anvil, Jess. Okay. So now the next portion we're going to work on is we're going to take and set down to the back of where the ears will end up being pricked up from. So we'll take this good heat. You want a good heat on this to do this portion. We're going to set off about 1 inch of material again, half on, half off flows, and work that stock back. Come back to the nose. And there we have it. So that's going to form the head of our wolf there, if you will. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty good, and it's working out all right. So that's the starts of that there. We are going to draw this material out more though. We're going to go ahead and thin this material out quite a bit more in here, taper it back in here just a bit more.
Good evening, Todd Krauss. Glad to have you joining us. Yeah, we're working on a door knocker. Tommy Wright, good evening. Tom Carlson. Herb Page says, where I work, they got the blacksmith shop a brand new anvil. It was like giving the whole candy shop to the kid.
Brand new anvils, they are fun to smith on until they start getting their historic charm in, and then they're still fun to smith on. But Todd Krauss, hello, good to have you in the house, by the way.
Jason Du Bois says, what would you recommend for making a hardy hole into a railroad track anvil, and how would you go about it?
Making a hardy hole into a railroad track. Most likely what I would do is I would drill it and then drift it. So I would drill out as much material as you can, and then I would run a square drift through it and then maybe re-harden it. Barring all that, your only other option is, if you don't have a broach or some sort of broaching machine or something that you could do that, would be to cut out and then weld back on a piece. So cut a notch in one half, cut a notch in the other, and then weld those two together to make a square hole. Hopefully that makes sense, but that would be my suggestion on that.
Mr. David says, what do you think of the stigma of hammer weight? I normally use a 2-pound hammer, but I have been thinking of going lighter. I've gotten a lot of flack for mentioning it at times.
That's a good one. That's a whole Roy rant. I'll take that question right after this heat. We'll get into that here in a second, right? All right, let's go over to the anvil. Okay, I'm gonna keep hammering this down, stretching out what'll be kind of the neck portion out a little more. We want to keep it in plane if we can with the rest of the piece. That's looking pretty good. Not too bad. The great part about this, by the way, is that this is meant to be a forged to finish product. So you're not supposed, on this, you can file this, you can grind this perfectly smooth, but if you take your time and cleanly forge with your piece, keeping your anvil clean, things like that, you can really develop a nice surface texture and character on a piece like this, and that's really important to do that. Develop a nice surface texture just through hammering alone, and it kind of gives it that not a rough look. I hate using the terminology rustic because that gets thrown around too much, but it gives it an old world effect to it. It makes it look like it's period correct for the time. So just taking your time and cleaning up, doing planishing heats with your hammer blows at about this heat, a little hotter, is a great way of planishing up the surfaces of your steel before you move on to your next step. So on the next step, now we need to take and cut in the mouth, in the horns. So we need to drive in a cut in the mouth, and then we need to drive in a cut from the horns. But I'll have to take and reposition the camera to show that at the vise. So before I do that, I'll go ahead and answer that question about hammer weight. Here, let me set this back over here. Just gonna lightly set that on top of the fire so it can stay warm. And then I'll go ahead and get to moving this thing around while Jessica fields some more questions. So, the whole thing about hammer weight. There is a stigma. Guys feel that you need to take and use a lot, like really big hammers, and then there's ones that advocate for the smallest possible swung hammer that you can do. You need to do a hammer that is comfortable for you, no matter what anybody else says. You know, I take it that you're probably a man, so you're a man. Make your own rules. You don't have to take and go by what anybody else says. Some people will say they're super comfortable swinging an 8-pound sledge all day. Some people can only swing, you know, maybe a 2-pound hammer. It's really up to you as far as personal preference. As far as your body is concerned, it is easier on your body to swing a lighter hammer. It just is. It's a lot harder to bench press 300 pounds versus bench 50 pounds. So that's just a fact. It's physics. So if you want to take it a little easier on your body, lighter hammers, being more accurate with your hammer control, that matters more. Again, people are surprised that this is only a 1 3/4 pound hammer, and this is heat number 3, by the way. Heat number 3, I've got my entire head done. So it's working with an accurate, it's working with intention, accurate and intentional hammer blows on the piece is what causes the work to progress very quickly, not just the size of your hammer. Big hammers, if they're too big for you, you'll find them uncontrollable and wieldy. So that means they're gonna go all over the place on you, and you're not gonna be able to get that fine finesse control in your grip to feel how that hammer's hitting that surface and making those little micro adjustments like I'm making always. I'm always making little micro adjustments on the tilt, the pitch, the roll of the hammer as I'm coming down because my eyes are picking up what I'm doing or not doing appropriately, and I'm making those little small, minute adjustments as I go. So I suggest lighter hammers if you can. Some work. If you're forging a 4-pound billet for a sledgehammer or a 6-pound billet for a sledgehammer, you're going to have to use sledgehammers on that because a little 1-pounder is not going to get the job done. So, you know, there's something to be said there. But if you're starting to move up into where you're forging 4- and 6-pound billets of steel, you probably shouldn't be doing those by yourself and one-armed. You should either have a power hammer, a press, or a whole gang of strikers. So that would be my suggestions on that. Great question. Yes, there is a stigma about it, and that can become a very deep topic in the world of blacksmithing. So good luck to you out there. God bless you and Godspeed. So, good, sir. So I'm gonna set this off the side, and Jessica, while you drop me some more questions, I'm gonna come over here and reposition the camera.
All right, one question comes from Tired Creek Ironworks. And they say, do you keep the blower on the forge on constantly? The coloration is hard to define on TV/devices. Is it yellow to work?
Is it yellow to work? Oh, okay, so the metal itself, are you muted there? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. The metal itself, when it comes out of the forge, it's at a bright yellow to almost a welding heat. All right, that should be good there, I think. I'm thinking that should be good. Let's see here. See here. Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, everybody can see me. Good. We will. Yeah, I'll keep those in there. We need that in there for right now. So. All right. So now we're going to get the snout all heated up, and we're going to use a slitting chisel with a soft face hammer driving into the mouth to take and cut open the mouth slot for this piece. You don't want to go super deep with this. You want to come about halfway back on the mouth. As soon as this is hot, we'll do that. And yes, by the way, I don't know if I fully answered the question. I do leave the blower running all the time on the forge here, the electric blower, because it's a lot easier than walking over here and shutting it off with the switch, turning it on and off. And I can control the air blast down below with an air damper down that I have below the forge there. So it makes it very handy. Let's go over to the vise, Jess. All right, nice and bright and hot and all that good stuff. We're gonna clamp the head in the vise. And we're gonna come up higher on the snout and drive back down at an angle. Missed it. That's going to end up squaring us up in the mouth, in the jaws there, and it'll make it look a little bit better. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. So that's that portion of that. The next step, we're gonna come out, put this up in here like so, and then we're gonna come down and cut up the back ears from this direction. All right.
Dana asked to see the back of the sweatshirts, which, by the way, these are new merch.
Ta-da! Yeah, I'm not doing very good tonight. Not selling enough of my merch, am I? Good question there, Dana. Good question. Get the merch at the link in the description. Oh.
Which, by the way, I didn't put it up at the very top. You have to scroll to the bottom. There's like a little line and then several links, and it's the one that says Teespring store.
Yeah, so I do have a video coming out, hopefully tomorrow, actually. I'll have a video coming out on our new merch, how you can get a hold of it, find it, what we've got going on there as resources and things. So that'll be coming out. It's kind of just a quick little update along with some more details about the Good of the Land Fest, things of that nature. That's actually going on next weekend, huh? All the way out in Texas. I believe it's Temple, Texas. Correct? I think it's Temple, Texas. I got it right. So, yeah, so I'm going to be, basically, I'm going to be bringing this again. I'm going to kind of do that as just a general demonstration piece while I'm there, just something I can work on while I'm there. And then I will be helping people forge some stuff. You know, it'll be a great chance to interact with people and, you know, do some teaching live and having people around. So it's going to be a great time, hopefully. It's going to be a long trip. So I'm kind of excited to kind of like get there and then like get home because I need to get back to work. It's fun to go around to all these events, but the one downside to going to a lot of events is you're never in the shop. And I want to be in the shop where I perform best, if you will, in my own workshop here. So let's go back to the vise, Jess. We've got a real good heat here. Yeah, that's not good. Get that back up. Now we're going to bite the nose in the vise. And we're going to come right down here, not quite at the base, just up a little bit from it. And we're going to drive down. Enough to pull out our ears. You can take these as long as you want or as short as you want. This is really just personal preference, but that starts getting your wolf head there and or animal head. Now you might see this little ridge down here. That is a fairly common element in the carvings, that they had like this little extra bump. I don't know what it's from, but you'll see this in some drawings or some of the boats that might have a little bit here. There might have been something here at one time. Just in the pictures that I've seen of them, they've seemed to have another recess right in here and back. Not always, but sometimes, so at least in the photos that I've seen. So Again, I come up just a little bit from there. You don't want to come against right here anyhow, because then you're going to be splitting down through the neck portion here, and we don't want to do that because then our head will fall off. We want to maintain some rigidity there. So if you guys can see that just fine, works good. All right, let's go back over to the anvil, Jess. So I'm going to straighten this all up here, because as you cut this piece, so I'm just planishing the material down. I'm going to have to come in here and do a little bit more work on the animal head. The next heat, we're going to come to the anvil surface now and drive those little ears up so they're a little less swept back and they're a little more pointed straight up. And go ahead with some questions real quick while I move the camera.
And let's see here. Someone asked a little earlier if you if you get any elbow pain, and if you do, how you handle it.
Okay, good questions. That's that in just a second. Okay, there we are. So I do not get any elbow pain. The thing that I have struggled with is shoulders and carpal tunnel. And a lot of my injuries that I have self-induced, self-inflicted, was from, one, swinging a hammer improperly in the first place, and two, swinging too heavy of a hammer. And the combined of those really messed me up. So at first the effects were not apparent. You know, I would get stuff like I would get a lot of throbbing pains in like my thumb or forefinger. I would get some shooting pains up my arm to my elbow, and then my shoulders and back would get really stiff and tight and really kinked up. And a lot of that came from swinging really too big of a hammer and having a death grip on the hammer. And I would suggest to you that, you know, you should go to somebody, if you can, get with another smith in your area if you're having those troubles, and just kind of have them watch you, and or you can film yourself and see if you're taking and making some pitfalls on your hammer control. Like as in if, you know, you're squeezing, like you're white knuckling it. If you're doing that, you're retarding all the information that's being transmitted in the hammer, and you're taking all that in your body. That kinetic energy does add up, and it will eventually hurt you. So if you are having elbows pains, things like that, it's important to stop, analyze what you're doing, or even send me a video of your arm in your stance while you're swinging, and I'll try to help you out if I can. I am no doctor, I'm no sports scientist or anything else like that, but that when you're starting to get pain while you're working, it's because you're doing something incorrectly. It should not hurt you. So try going down in hammer size, try going up in weight a little bit until you find that medium. But for the most part, it's going to come down to probably a poor hammer swing. But I myself do not have any problems with my elbows. Just previously mentioned, I've messed myself up, and that's why I'm a big proponent to swinging lighter hammers and not these big gigantic hammers that you see. That's why I'm an advocate, you would say. Pretty harsh advocate, a staunch critic, they say. All right, let's go to the Anvil, Jess. I'm losing subs by the moment. They'll just have to miss out, huh?
Leroy Pryor asked, how would you make horns, and would you just not add ears?
Say that again. if you're trying to make horns, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to have to add, you're going to have to split them in from somewhere. Whether you forge them back like what you would do like in a ram's head or something, but I've never seen horns on a Viking ship, so I wouldn't necessarily do horns myself, but if you want to add horns, you can. I'm just trying to keep it to, you know, somewhat period correct to the things that I have seen in the past in photos. But if you're doing horns, one way you could do it is you could split this up like you see here. Hopefully you're seeing that on camera. You could split this up, grab a Mr. Thing here, split it up and then split it down and then draw out each one of these into a horn or a spike or something like that. You could do that as well. The other option is like a ram's head, bending it back on itself after you draw out and split horns and then forging the face out of that, but it's going to give it a different look than what we've got here. Yeah, really, I mean, it's up to you, up to you. This is the great thing about this. You can kind of interpret this how you want. A lot of the Nordic ironware that I have seen has all been suggestive type ironware. We're trying to suggest something. You know, you could add faces and all sorts of stuff. You can punch in eyes. You can get elaborate with this, fangs, teeth, whatever you want to do on this portion. But one of the things that I like about a lot of the Nordic style, Scandinavian type of ironwork and stuff is there is a bit of a simplicity to it. So it's easy to make and forge, but it's also has, you still get the impression of what you're looking at. So you're not like, oh, well, that's definitely a monkey. That's definitely a monkey. Like, no, you get the ideal that it is a wolf head or a dragon head of some kind. You know, it pulls the eyes pretty nicely.
I wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the super chats we had just a few minutes ago. Doe Creek Forge, $2, says go Navy. And Garen Power, $2, says thanks for the great work you two do.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for the $2 super chats. We do appreciate those. And guess what? Those are enough to get your name on that wall that you guys watched as you come into the stream if you were here at the beginning. So thank you guys. We really do appreciate the donations. They are what make streams like this possible. It makes it easier on Jessica and I. We can actually work at doing these things. Yeah, I like it. I like being able to hang out with you all. I do enjoy occasionally just doing a stream where I just sit there and run my mouth. I just enjoy talking to you all. So I do enjoy that interaction that we get to have every other Friday night. And this is a weird one because it's a Friday night and a Friday night back to back, because next Friday we'll be at the Good of Land Fest, so we won't be here. We'll actually be in Texas. So we moved it up one, bumped it up one. That way we could still get out 2 streams there, since we had been lacking doing streams for quite a while. And I figured, you know, last stream we made a Russian rose. This one we're making a Nordic style door knocker. And who knows what the next one might be. You never know. Never know. I'm always coming up with new stuff that I want to do. And maybe I'll make a video on this someday at some point in time. Give some people an idea. But I've got several door knocker videos coming out this upcoming week. I've been on a bit of a door knocker kick, haven't I?
Yep, you have.
Again, thank you guys for the super chats. You all are awesome. We do appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who supports us on a regular basis. We really can't thank you enough. It's super, super appreciated. It's almost. One more question.
Okay. James Ashley says, your anvil is so quiet. How do you manage that?
James Ashley, the way that I manage to get my anvil so quiet is that the legs of it, it's a solid steel anvil base that are attached to legs, so it's a tri-leg design, and the legs are filled with sand, packed full of sand. And what that does is that retards the vibrations or the harmonics of the anvil, and it stops it from ringing. So that's how you do it. It'll still make a dink, dink, dink noise because, I mean, you're hitting metal on metal, but it won't make that bell noise. And without this stand, this thing rings like a church choir. It does. On a Sunday morning. It really rings, so it really goes out there. All right, we're good and hot. Let's go back over to the anvil. Hun. So now we need to cut this off the bar stock now that we've got our face worked out and all that business. And this is where it's going to start getting a little bit on the tricky side. So here you can just take a rough guess. I would say leave yourself plenty of room. Make this about from here out at least 10 inches or so. If you get a little bit more than what you need, you can always just make like a more scrollier tail. No one's gonna dock you on that. You're the one making it, so no one will know. No one will know. Again, about 8 to 10 inches from the horns or ears, if you will. That's what I would suggest. Trying to be careful and not just let this fly across the shop. Get that swapped around. One problem is if you don't cut this off long enough, what ends up happening is you don't have a very long tail, or the door knocker becomes very short and truncated very quick. So again, you want that good 8 inches, 8 to 10 inches across there.
You are getting some birthday wishes in the comments. James from County Line Forge, he dropped in. He gave a $20 super chat. He said, "Happy birthday, Roy." And emojis with a cake, a party, and balloons.
Thank you, James, County Line Forge. Thank you, everybody, for the happy birthday wishes. I really do appreciate you all. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that 20 bucks. Super appreciated.
Roy is not much of a cake person, so I normally make him for his birthday pumpkin pie because he likes that a lot better.
Yep, I'm a pumpkin pie kind of guy. Oh, for my birthday. Sorry, y'all, I'm bouncing in and out of camera here, just trying to make sure I have the right pair of tongs for the job here. Best to get them now before it's too late, you know. Get this up. And thank you, James, by the way, for stopping by, brother. I know you're busy. Really do appreciate you coming over.
Let's see here. Mr. David says, "Happy birthday. Had no idea it was your birthday, Roy." Jason DuBois says, "Well, happy late birthday, Roy." Darren Goodman says, "Happy birthday, Roy." Drayson's Forge, "Happy belated birthday, Roy," with lots of chocolate cakes. And Dana Maggiore also says, "Happy birthday, Roy."
Thank you all so much. Thank you, gentlemen. Really do appreciate that. And it was a good birthday yesterday as well. I definitely can't complain. So my youngest daughter made me a ton of, she made me a ton of happy birthday cards. And that just, well, you can't ask for better than that. When your child makes you a bunch of "I love you, daddy" cards, you can't beat that. Makes you proud. So, all right, this is good and hot, Jess. Let's go over to the anvil. Okay, it's a little too hot, but we're gonna live with it. Okay, we're gonna turn the face up. So we're going to start by drawing this thing out in thickness first, and then we will draw down the width back to normal size. But we want to take and draw it out in this direction first. versus going on the width side and just keep working it back and forth. It'll be more expedient to draw it out across here. All right, any other questions while that heats up for a hot minute?
There's one from the Ace Time Lapse. He says, where did you get your anvil at?
I got my anvil off of eBay. It was a good old find. Had to go all the way down to Georgia to get it. And there's a whole story that goes along with that, but we're not gonna go with that right now at this critical juncture in this step. Another question, Jess.
Joe Byers says, thank you for all of your hard work. Watching you the last couple of years has helped me greatly with both smithing theory and application of that theory. Hope you had a wonderful birthday.
Awesome, certainly did. Thank you. I'm glad you've been enjoying the content. I'm glad that that has been valuable to you. That's what we make the content for, is to try to inspire people and teach. So I'm glad I could have some small part in that. Go ahead.
All right. Darren Rudman, Roy just turned 31, and we have 3 kids, ages 9, 7, and 5, and all of them like doing artwork. So yeah, Roy got quite a bit of artwork. And Blaze Out Now says, what happens when you get it too hot?
When you get it too hot, it ends up burning up. It gets over-oxygenated, it oxidizes rapidly, and therefore it burns up and it just melts off. And then it's all crispy and blistered on the end, and it's not very good ironwork after that. And if it's high carbon steel, you basically just about cook the carbon content right out of it, and it's almost good for nothing at that point. All right, we ready to go over the anvil? All right, over at the anvil again. Whoop. So I'm going to keep drawing this out. You can go as thin or as thick as you like here. I like it to be fairly thin because I want to roll this up quite a bit. So I'm just going to keep drawing this out. Next heat, I'm going to come over the horn to take and expedite this drawing out process now that I've got where I'm going to established. All right, hon. Next question, comment.
John McDaniel, who said, people tell me I'm not a real smith because I went to YouTube smithing college.
Well, tell them when they start disseminating knowledge better than a YouTube smith, then you'll go to their college. So that's my answer to that. If the subject of being a real blacksmith, being a real boy or not, is absolutely ludicrous. So, you know, if that's the case, then people in India aren't real blacksmiths. People who are forging, you know, gypsies aren't real blacksmiths. You know, guys out of their garage that went to college for it, but then couldn't make a stick of it as a business, aren't real blacksmiths. All them old farts out there that have, like, you know, 50 years of knowledge, but 12 hours at the anvil, they're not real blacksmiths. again, we can go pretty deep on that. When it comes to YouTube blacksmiths, people usually take a few exceptions online. The first person they come to mind may be the most popular YouTube blacksmith, or they might have just seen, you know, somebody put out one bad video that had some bad information in it, and they write off the entire community online. So again, you're a real blacksmith. If you swing a hammer, if you're hitting hot steel, then yes, you are in fact blacksmithing. You are forging material and metal. Now, whether you choose to identify as a, you know, professional blacksmith, now that holds a whole nother segment of responsibility. And to take and call yourself good at blacksmithing, again, that requires a whole nother level of responsibility. And to teach, again, requires a whole nother level of responsibility. So, you know, this whole thing, it really, in fact, if we weren't born in England, then we're not real blacksmiths here in America. The last 200, 400 years, how many long? 200 years, right? Last 200 years of our nation's history, right? Is that about right? See, I don't even know our nation's history. Look at that. I'm not a real blacksmith. I don't even know when we, you know, stuck up our noses at our mother country there. So I'm really not a real blacksmith. No. Let's go to the anvil, Jess. Don't listen to this YouTuber. Getting better and better. So I'd also like to point out a little bit kind of the silliness of one of those statements when somebody tells you that you're, you know, since you watch YouTube, you're not a real blacksmith, this and that. The funny thing about that is so basically that's a dig at online educators, people who are online educating you about the realm of blacksmithing. Since you didn't go to, say, an accredited college, or you didn't go through a specific, you know, way of learning, you didn't just understudy one person, which is not physically possible for some people. It's not financially possible to do that for some folk. That, again, that makes you not a real blacksmith. It's not so much an insult towards you, it's an insult towards people who educate online. I've heard that argument several times whenever I kind of scum around Facebook there. And if you want to have a better life, spend less time online bickering and quarreling with trolls, and spend a lot more time in the forge and just laugh at them when they tell you stuff like that. Because chances are they couldn't forge even half as good as 0.1% of the guys that are educating online right now. So, you know, that's just kind of how that is. And if there's any of them that would like to challenge me on that, send them my direction. I'd love to test their skills and put them through their paces.
So yeah, I have a comment I wanted to read you real quick.
All right, real quick.
Never mind, I lost it. I'll come back to it.
Okay, all right, let's go back over the anvil real quick. So just as an example of that, that statement on the not real blacksmiths, I've had people troll me in a comment section before and say I was not a real blacksmith because of some simple process I was teaching online. And the interesting thing is I was a professional smith and still am long before I was ever on YouTube. Long before I was ever on YouTube. You know, and I feel like being on YouTube and having to think through processes to teach people how to do things accurately and condense all that and put that on in a camera and make it somewhat watchable to folks has made me a better, well-rounded smith, or at least more efficient and quick at what I do. Or maybe let's say not even really that, just better articulated about the processes I'm trying to show. So again, I champion online blacksmiths as long as they're putting out good information, proper and correct information, and you are finding value. One thing I don't champion is people who are discouraging of other people. When you start becoming a discouragement, or you start, you know, taking and using foul language to describe somebody or this or that, it says more about you and who you are as a person than what it says about the person you're trying to discourage. So they probably felt threatened by the fact that you were learning something or processes that they don't yet know. And so therefore they were threatened by that fact and called you out on it. So don't be discouraged. Just tell them to take a hike. Take a hike.
I found the comment I was going to read to you earlier. It's from the Ace Time Lapse. He says, please let Roy know that I love his videos and I forge using charcoal and a hairdryer and that I am 12.
Awesome. Good to have a young somebody in the shop tonight. That's awesome. Keep up the work. Eventually you'll move up from that hairdryer and you might have a full-blown forge, and who knows, you might have a whole setup someday. And you can take it as far as you want. Good to have you as part of the stream, and I'm glad I could get you excited about it.
Tom Carlson says, I try to sweep away the slag that comes off after heating. What happens if it's not kept clean, and does it affect the appearance or the quality of the steel?
If you don't keep your steel clean or sweeping away all the scale that falls on the anvil, and you bring hot steel and hammer it into that cold scale that's sitting on the anvil, it will impregnate itself into the surface of your steel, and later on when you clean it up, it'll fall out. And therefore you'll have a bunch of really rough, it'll look fairly rough. It'll look like a really rough forging. So it is best, if you can, to do your best to go ahead and get everything clean every time. Now, I don't go through the process of brushing and doing that at every heat. Again, you're just producing more scale as it's at heat, as it's at that oxidizing heat. It's going to continue to scale up on you. So bring it out, do your work, a quick blowing, you know, just blow air on the anvil and that'll blast off any scale on there, and just continue hammering on. But yeah, it'll affect the quality of your work, and in fact, it's something that some techniques you can actually do to actually make that type of texture. If you're wanting a rough type texture or a rock type texture, there's a way of doing that. You bring up a bunch of forged scale, lay it on the anvil, and then beat flat plates into it. That's to an advantage in some cases for select art pieces. So it can be used as an advantage, but for the most part it's a disadvantage. So try to get it try to get it clean off the anvil as you can. So this next step, we're going to go over to the horn of the anvil. I'm going to cool the face of this door knocker down, and then I'm going to try to get it to bend. So I've got a little water bucket here. I'm going to quench the head in, and we'll be over at the anvil, and we'll be using a wooden mallet to take and do that shaping over the horn. Let's go to the anvil, Jess. I'm just trying to cool off the small bits. so I can get the parts that I want to bend around without shifting that head around too much. If you don't get it as far as you like the first time, you can always come back through and hammer this up a little bit later and get it a little tighter if you want. And now somebody's probably going to ask me, what's the purpose? What's the purpose, if you will, of the wooden mallet? And the purpose of the wooden mallet is so this way we don't wreck any of these details as we go around. We don't want to wreck any of the facial details as we go around. So you want to take and have a nice hook on it like that. There we go. There's a little bit of had a little bit of a twist right there in it. So I'm just straightening that out. All right. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and brush the face a little bit now that it's below the scaling heat to take off some of that excess scale that's on the face and get that little section cleaned up. So have you guys see how that looks now? Hopefully I can see that. Look good? Next question.
All right. Jeremy Bishop asked about, I'm looking to start selling some items as a secondary income. What's the best avenue for selling? We personally really like Etsy, and like someone mentioned, we do have a lot of videos on how to do an Etsy store. Some people are a little off-put that they are trying to push towards the sellers offering free shipping, especially on items $35 or more. But I still think it's a really good platform to sell on. You can use things like flat rate boxes to help calculate in, like, if you're going to use a medium flat rate box, and that normally costs about $15, that helps you know how much to tack on to the price of your item. So yeah, that's a really good question. So you can definitely check out our playlist and our business of blacksmithing for more on that. And then John McDaniel asked if you like your new shop better.
What's there not to like about the new shop? Yes, I love my new shop a lot better. I've got plenty of space. I've got nothing but a shop to grow into, and I can't tell you how much of a relief that is after spending as many years as I did in my small shop. Surprisingly enough, I don't know how I fit all this stuff in at our place, at the old place. So let's go over to the anvil, Jess. This is ready to go. All right, so now we're going to work on the ribbon end scroll portion, or the little tail portion. We're going to start scrolling this up. Hopefully never hitting the same place twice is the goal. As we're working on this, developing this scroll right around, we want to keep an eye on it. And keep it tucked really nice here. And as you can see, this doesn't take a lot of force. We're not really wailing at this thing. All right, so there we have it. So now we're going to go ahead and continue that on around. Take little heats, a little bit at a time, and keep feeding that scroll over the edge of the anvil. Or if you feel more comfortable, do it over the horn of the anvil. So we are really just about done. We are really just about done with this tail piece here. You know, with the actual knocker portion. The next part that we're going to have to take and sort out is our clevis piece. That's the part that the knocker hangs from. And so that's a really important part, and it's kind of a fun thing to forge. Again, I'll have to move the camera to do some of the forging over at my little swedge block anvil thing down here, a little striking anvil, to take and show that entire process. But again, we're making a T-pin. If you don't have a swedge block anvil, don't worry about it. What you need to take and have is some sort of bolster plate. You need a bolster plate that will fit the diameter, but we'll get into that here in a second when I show you that. So let's go back over to the anvil, Jess, and then I'll take some questions real quick as we go.
Ready for it?
Yep.
Will Patrick asks, is the animal shaping in the stock mostly an experience thing? I've noticed a lot of content producers and artist smiths don't use templates or pre-marking. Is that just experience?
So in my case, it's experience. I just know where I need to hit it, and I know what I'm looking for. As you know, volume-wise, you'll gain that as you get more time at the anvil, time and hammer work at the anvil. You'll get a good eye for the amount of volume something's going to take for a given length. And even when I selected the stock for this, I just went for it. And I said, well, okay, let's see how that'll turn out. And it turned out good. It confirmed my suspicion that it would work out good. So that would be my suggestion. Go back to the main cam. So yeah, it's an experience. It's an experience thing. Some people online, when they are doing it, it's kind of hard to tell. They're winging it and they're filming it, and if it works out, they produce the video. If it doesn't work out, it'll never see the light of day. The video won't. So it's kind of hard to tell on that. The best way that you can tell on that, if that's the case of something that you might be looking for to see if it's a well thought out design or whatever, will be the orchestration of process. So I have a very specific, I know all the steps I need to take in order to make this item. I knew it before I started. I orchestrated the process. I went and found a piece of bar stock that I thought, from experience, from looking at the volume of it, the size, diameter of the material, saying, okay, that'll be enough for that I have in my head. And so that's an experience thing. There's other things where it's not necessarily an experience thing. It's just not critical. There's critical components, and that I'll mark. I'll actually make marks and little pencil marks and centered punch marks if it has to be accurate. But with something like this, when it being an art piece, it doesn't necessarily have to be accurate unless it's going to be produced again and again and again. Hopefully that makes sense. Back over the anvil, Jess. I'm going for a fairly tight spiral scroll on this one. You can go for a looser one if you like. I'm just knocking off some of the surface scale that's developing as we go, just for the fact that I don't want to build up in between the layers of scrolling as we go. But you guys can see how that's starting to develop there. I'm going to go one more turn around with this, and then that portion there will be done.
Penny, and let's see, who else do we have? Richard Ironworks, welcome to the live stream. We're glad the notifications are finally getting out there. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes so far. And Roy, a question for you. The Ace Time Lapse asks, how did you get into blacksmithing and what age did you start?
Oi, good question. I don't know what age I started at. It was after we were married, a year after, so 19. I started when I was 19. I got into blacksmithing after Jessica found me a coal forge at a garage sale. And that was from me basically saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool? We went and saw a historical, like a little historical reenactment place there in Ohio called Carriage Hill Metro Park. Great place if you're ever in the Dayton, Ohio area. Definitely check them out. But they were having like this little historical thing, and I got to talking to the blacksmiths there at the shop and fell in love with it. And yeah, basically pestered her until she got me a forge. That's the short end of the story. There's a lot longer story there. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started into it. And that's my age that I got started into it. Let's go over to the anvil. Put the final touches on this. All right, that is good. That's what we're wanting. Just got to make sure she stays nice and square with the piece and looking good. And there we have it. Hopefully everybody likes that.
Yeah, looking nice.
Looks at that. Looks good?
Yeah.
Okay, so now the next step is I'm going to throw this piece back in the fire, and I'm going to heat it up here right around the neck or the head of this piece. I'm going to heat it right back up in there, and I'm going to go ahead and throw my center punch, my touch mark in it, right there up near the, near the neck portion. So we'll flip that around. If you had more material, if you had too much material in length, you could just keep scrolling that up. If it's too short in length, you won't get as many wraps with the scroll. Either way, it's okay. If you want more, start again, make a much longer piece to roll up for the knocking portion.
Champ Ironworks, welcome to the live stream. Good to have you. Yeah, it's probably about 40 right now here in the shop. So it seems like it'll be probably pretty warm when we go to Texas. Enjoying I think it's gonna be about 68 then, so that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Tommy Wright says, you have made a couple of videos on things to do with a pitchfork. Do you know anything I could do with a shovel?
There's one thing that you can do with a shovel that I kind of want to explore more on. Shovels, depending on where you get them from, they can actually be some fairly decent carbon steel. You know, like a medium carbon steel, not necessarily a mild steel, and not like a high carbon steel, but they could be a decent quality steel, like a 1030 or so. But I have seen people make faces out of shovels. That's an interesting thing. You can look online, just do a Google search of shovel faces and see if that's within your tool set. That's something I was thinking about making a video on, you know, doing that. I've got an extra shovel lying around, so I was thinking I might do that at some point. I've seen your comments before asking about that, but that's it. I mean, with it being like a medium carbon steel, it kind of it lends itself to, an old shovel lends itself to either an artwork project or something that's like a piece of tooling, like a tooling type project. That's really what it lends itself the best towards. If you're good at lock work, because it being a medium carbon steel, you could cut out springs from it, make different springs out of it. Again, it's a thinner piece, but you could use that in locks as like your hairpin springs, things of that nature. So that is one possibility for you on that. Sorry if I didn't come up with that too much there. Let's go back to the anvil. Sorry. Sorry, hon, I'll try to do a better job of warning you next time.
That's all right.
So I'm gonna just brush it off decently. It doesn't have to be crazy. I'm not trying to get crazy here. I'll find my touch mark, find a good spot for it behind the head, and put it right there. Looks good. And now, inevitably, since I hit it, I'm going to have to hit it on the other side to straighten out that bend that I put in it. Because hitting it there will cause it to bend when you put in your mark. So now we're down below a scaling heat. So now's the time to brush it up really good at this temperature. Get in there. This is where you can make your metalwork really shine and look really good right hot off the press. Is at this heat right here. This is the time to do it. You can see how shiny that becomes now. All right, looks good. Good, good, good. That's it for that portion. So that's probably the most difficult portion. Well, that is the most rewarding portion, I should say. The difficult portion is making the clevis. So that's probably the easiest portion to do. So if you guys see that, trying to get the whole thing in there. There you go. Might make more sense, huh? What's everybody think about that? Look good so far?
They're talking about making Batman shovels.
Okay, strange conversation to be having. Whatever. All right. All right, I'm gonna set that off to the side of the forge so it can cool.
Okay.
Now I can put this away. Give me a second.
And by the way, if anybody threw out a question earlier and I didn't get to it, make sure you tell me again, and I will definitely try to read that out to Roy. And also, I want to tell you guys, just from last week's winners, I still had 3 that I did not get your addresses for your sticker packs, and that's Manga 12, Mark Evans, and Doe Creek Forge. So if I somehow looked over your email, please send me a new one. And you can do that from our website, blacksmithpdfs.com, and up in the corner there's like a contact button, and just use that and I'll see it for sure.
That brings up a good point, Jess. Maybe we should give away a few stickers, because we know what you all are here for. You're not here to see forging, you're here to get freebies. It's a good drink break too. No, they're not here just for the freebies. They're here for Roy's good looks.
Oh yeah.
That's what it is.
Plus we're at 95 viewers. We're so close to being to 100, so.
Now's the time to share it around. Yeah. For us, not necessarily for you, because you have statistically higher odds of winning if you don't share the stream around right now.
Wait till afterwards.
Yeah, wait till after we give away all the stickers and then share it around. Again, you said how many viewers?
95.
That's epic. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching and stuff and being here. We do appreciate y'all. So it's time again to give away some stickers. No, there's not a solid one in here. Okay, there's supposed to be a solid round, but anyways, so we try to give away some stickers when we can, and we're going to give these. These were made by the lovely Dana Maggiore. God bless you, sir. We thank you so much for allowing us to get some of these stickers from you to be able to give them away and do stuff and sell them on the website and things of that nature. But the way we do this, you guys know the drill. We are going to take and draw a random winner from the community here that's in the stream. So we're going to take and scroll up and down, Jessica is anyhow, real quick, and she's just going to pick a random name. Wherever her cursor lands, that's who's going to win a sticker bundle. So let's do that now, Jess. Who do we got?
All right. Dun, da, da, da. All right. Jacob Rawls and says, Roy, have you ever made a folding knife before?
Jacob Rawls, congratulations. Send us your email, contact information. The link to get a hold of us, the contact info is down in the description down below. Click on that and send us an email with your information so we can ship this. And what was the question again?
If you made a folding knife.
Have I ever made a folding knife? Nope, I am not a knife maker. Well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I have made, oh man, I'm letting it out online. No. Anyways, yeah, I made a friction folder once with my brother. So way back when, several years ago, my brother and I, he was helping me in the forge quite a bit, and out of that I was kind of helping him do some forging, And he wanted to make a friction folder with me one evening, so we made a pair of friction folders. So because his main interest was knives, my main interest was making money for a living, doing artwork and that sort of thing at that time. So yes, I have made a friction folder before. It was a very interesting process. My blade was absolute garbage, but the friction folder was nice. The design was okay. It worked. It hinged like it was supposed to. That's it. So great question. Thank you. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being part of the stream. I'm sure there's all sorts of great comments happening. Yeah, there's all sorts of great comments right now. I know it. So let's go ahead and draw one more name. Jess, did you write down him, by the way?
Yes, I did.
His info? Yep. Okay, go ahead. Drum roll, please, people.
Okay. Let's see here. And Will Batic. Okay, I was making sure that was a different name. Will Batic, and says, if I had a bat shovel or bat axe, my wife would never allow me to do work with them in her vicinity again because I never stopped saying it in the voice.
I'm Batman. It'll be great. You should do that just for that purpose. That's great. So, William, was it? William?
Yes.
William? Batrick? William, congratulations. Send us your info so we can send these to you, your address and stuff. You are a lucky winner of these stickers. Also, I did not put my proverbial warning out there. Do not stick these on things that you want them to never be unstuck from, because once they're on there, they're there permanently. You slap them to your kid's forehead, they're going to have them surgically removed. So don't do that. I don't endorse that. It'll be funny if you do, but I don't endorse that. Don't do that. Don't slap it to your neighbor's car, do anything like that, or vandalize with them, please. For the love of everything that's good in this world. Don't vandalize with them. Stick them to your own vehicles or your own toolboxes. Unless you find a person that doesn't like our channel, then go ahead and slap it to their toolbox. Just for the funny, because they can never get rid of it after that. Oh. Anyways, let's draw one more person, Jess. Let's get another drum roll going.
All right, our next one is, let's see, nose dive. You look a little chilly. You need to get the forge healthier. Ha ha ha.
So nosedive, is it? All right. Well, congratulations, nosedive. Get this your info, your contact info, the way to take and send these things to you through the post, and we will get them to you. And
yes.
We're gonna go ahead and get at least 5 of these done, Jess. What I want to do. So we've got 2 more to do. That way, after our next intermission, we can go ahead and give away another 5 to those that are still with us in the stream. So, go ahead.
Alrighty. The next one is going to be for Moondog 1970. And let's see here. He was calling me somebody else, but he said that I hear a mix of wax, white spirit. Sorry, Moondog 1970 said he was referring to somebody, and he had said, I hear a mix of wax, white spirit, and boiled linseed oil is boss. You can look up the proportions online, and he had watched somebody's forge video build. So.
Okay, completely unrelated to what we're doing here, so continue to talk amongst yourselves. Jess, let's pull up some little more relevant comments, okay? or if they're just having a side convo. Yeah, just do that. So again, Moondog.
Yes, 1970.
Moondog 1970, congratulations on the sticker pack, sir. Thank you for supporting us and being part of the stream. And send us your info. That way we can get these out to you, your address and stuff. Greatly appreciate it.
All right, and our last one is Junior D. Last one is Junior D. He says, looks cool. And by the way, somebody asked the best way to get us your info. If you go to our website, blacksmithpdfs.com, up in the corner, you will see the contact button. Go ahead and click that and fill that out with your address and name, and your YouTube username too, so I know who is who.
There you are. So congratulations. thank you for being part of the stream. Again, contact us, send us your stuff, and we'll get that, and we'll get back to doing these again here in a little bit. But for now we are going to take and work on the clevis portion. This is the part that the knocker swings from. I'll go back over to the camera number 2, Jess, real quick. Make sure your mic's muted there, so this way we're not getting weird feedback. Good to go. All right, so we're going to be working on the clevis portion here. And this is all one piece, except for the nut and the washer that's on here. I'll take off the nut there. Woo! That off there, so you guys can get a better look of it here. So that's the clevis portion. Of course, this was threaded. So this was threaded after it was forged and then filed round. We filed it round and then I threaded it, but it was just rough forging. We won't be doing that in this evening stream because it's just beyond what we could do in a stream. But I will show you how to forge the T-bolt, which is a pretty difficult process. I say difficult, it's just you have to take and, kind of finesse it quite a bit. You have to do a little bit of finessing to get this just right. So again, we're going to be forging this out of the same material. This is 1/2 inch by 5/8 inch material, and or 12.5 mil by 16 mil cross section material. So we will be forging this out of that. But the first things first that we need to do, we need to draw ourselves down a tenon, basically a tenon on the end of the bar before we can forge the actual clevis portion. So let's get that hot and get right into it. And we will continue this little process.
We have a question from Dustin Smith who asks, what's the best way to keep my hooks that I've been making from rusting when they're finished?
Best way to do that is either oil them down with some boiled linseed oil, vegetable oil, coconut oil, any sort of oil while it's at a dark black heat. That is a great way of keeping rust off of them. If you are going to be using them in a situation where they're going to be outside and they're going to be receiving a lot of weather, the better option is just use some Rust-Oleum clear enamel finish. And or you can paint them black too as well. If it's going to be outside, you're going to most likely want paint. There's not really any way around that. That's kind of why paint was developed in the first place, was to protect things that were outside. So again, paint will probably be your best option when it comes to that. When it comes to that particular problem, I should say. All right. Next question.
Yeah. See here. Coffee's Forge, $20 super chat and says, I want a sticker, please. LOL, evening, Roy and Jess.
Thank you, Coffee's Forge, for the $20 super chat. You want a sticker, please? Well, we can send you a sticker, Mr. Coffee. That's the least we could do. Thank you, sir, for the $20 super chat. We do really appreciate you.
By the way, just a little update on if anybody hasn't looked down in the description here. We have some of our upcoming events for the end of this year down in the description, so feel free to read up on those. And here next weekend we will be at the Good of the Land Fest in Texas, which is our first time in Texas. Well, I personally haven't been there in about 12, 13 years, something like that. And it's probably been a lot longer for Roy. But we'll be down there for that to do some forging and blacksmithing and some meet and greet.
Last time I was in Texas was when my dad was stationed in Fort Hood. And that was when I was yet but a wee child. I couldn't have been I think I was maybe 2 years old last time I was in Texas. So it'll be interesting. Don't remember a whole lot except big bugs and it was hot. That's it. And I ran around basically naked all the time except for my diaper. That's all I remember from being 2 and in Texas. Yeah, but on the note of the Good of Land Fest, I think it'll be a good event. I hope to get to see a lot of you that are from the West out there. If you do get a chance next weekend to do that, that'd be great. Texas is a big place. You can find more information of that over at thegoodofthelandfest.com, I think it is. I'm not sure. Just type in The Good of the Land Fest in Google, and you should be able to take and navigate it. Huh? Is it? Okay, the link for it's in the description down below, so to go check that out. If you're going to be in Texas or around the Texas area, that'd be a great place to go. So let's go over to the anvil real quick, and we're going to forge this out. Decided I wanted a little more material there. It doesn't require a lot of material. So keep that in mind. And this does not have to be perfect. We're just drawing a tenon. If you feel more comfortable using a guillotine tool, you can do that as well. The purpose is not how you make this. But simply that it gets made. You do need a shoulder. You need a shoulder to bump off against. So that is kind of the prerequisite. You do need a shoulder this bumps against. So get a rough forging like that on it. You can clean this up as much as you like. You will end up filing this down to an exact shape later on. If you have a tenon swedge tool, that makes this process a heck of a lot easier. Or a swedge block to clean it up in, that helps as well. But you can do it just right at the anvil. So you put on a swedge block like this, and it'll help clean this piece up as you forge it. And that little bit of cold forging I'm doing there right now is not really doing a whole lot. So again, we just drew a tenon out on there. You're going to want to leave that tenon fairly proud of 3/8 of an inch in material, or you want it to be about 1/2 inch or so in diameter. That's to give you enough. Remember, you got to file this down to a usable dimension that you can then tap this thing. You can thread this shank here. So we will decide what size hole that's going to be after the fact. So it's not important now at this stage. The important thing is that we've forged ourselves a nice tenon on the end there. Now we need to cut this off and go over to our swedge block to end up heading this up into our T-bolt. T-bolt or clevis, excuse me. Question, are you using a gas forge? That would be my question on that. If you're using a gas forges produce grayscale versus a dark black scale like is commonly associated with a coal forge. If you are oiling it at a point to where it can pop that surface oil, it can burn that oil off, it's at too high of a heat and it's coming out still gray. Yeah, it needs to be just hot enough that it kind of chars the oil that's going on and darkens the finish, but not so hot to where it just dries the oil right off. And therefore it doesn't darken and or keep the finish nice. Also, I did not mention when I drew out that tenon, I put on about an inch and a maybe 3/8 of material onto the anvil. to take and draw out that tenon. That tenon's way too long. We'll end up cutting it off later on after we've done all of our cleanup work and threading and stuff like that. But for when you're forging stuff like this that's going to be threaded later on, you want to leave it larger than what it needs to be. So this way you can get it turned down to the proper size, threaded, and then cut it off to the proper length for the door that you're going on. All right, this is hot enough. Let's get it over to the anvil here. I'll take more questions.
Doe Creek Forge asks if you ever used beeswax.
Yes, I do, sometimes. All right, so what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna take and stick this piece over the edge of the anvil about an inch or so. We're gonna leave ourselves a good amount of material. We're gonna cut down through the bar partly, go to the one side, go to the other. What we're trying to do is we're trying to cut to center the best we can. The closer you get this to cutting to center, the cleaner it's going to be in the long run for you, and it's going to end up helping you out. We'll break that off. So now we can spread that top down. It kind of gives us a hitting point to center this thing up. I'm also going to go check over here. I'm going to lean over the camera real quick, make sure it's going to fit through the hole, and it will. That's good. That's reassuring. We're going to set this bar off. We'll use it at a later date in a few minutes. And now we're on to heating up that part.
Black Collar Ironworks says, Roy, you should go on Forged in Fire and scroll your blade before you turn.
Well, I've been invited on Forged in Fire, but I turned it down. So I am not a bladesmith and don't really have an interest in competing with sharp, flat, and pointy. So I turned it down, but that would be a pretty hilarious thing. I thought about that, just getting on there and just to see the judge's face as I make a rose. I make a rose and then like a little stand, a little pipe vase for it to sit in. that would really trip them up, wouldn't it? Yeah. And then hand in like a really flat and pointy bar that doesn't have any form to it whatsoever as my blade. That'd be great by the time the time's up. Oh. All right, I need to move this camera real quick while I'm setting that off to one side. You can field me some more questions while I move this camera. Excuse me for a minute. And I hope, also I'm going to change the light on this. It's looking a little dark. Give me a second, folks.
Question. Nosedive says, I see you didn't use any of your power hammers during your YouTube demos. Do you use them only for production pieces? Too loud to talk over them, or are they gathering mothballs in the corner? Yeah, mainly Roy didn't use power hammers in his videos because just to be conscious of the viewership. A lot of our viewers are more towards the beginner to intermediate and don't necessarily have a power hammer on hand. And plus, as you're right there, it's difficult to talk over a power hammer. So that's another reason why he doesn't use it very frequently. Here in our new shop, he does have his what we titled the main shop hammer that's built mainly out of metal. And he doesn't have it on a concrete platform yet, so it's kind of got a little bit of a lean to it. So he uses it for like drawing out tong reins and stuff like that. So that is your answer there.
Yeah, so Jessica answered that pretty well about that. I do have a power hammer right now. It's collecting dust just because I don't have a base poured for it. I mainly use my power hammer for making tooling. That's the biggest thing I use it for. Occasionally I'll have something, a large bar that I have to pull out, maybe for a sculpture, maybe for a project or a job. But a lot of my work, I find myself spending time on old Olga here. Ooh, say that 7 times fast. Just because I enjoy hand forging a lot. I thought when I would make power hammers that, and I have used a slew of power hammers. I've used professionally. I've used manufactured hammers that are done. I've used home-built professional hammers. I've used everything in between. And really, for the type of work that I do and the aesthetic that I strive for, you can only go so far on a power hammer for. Power hammers are really great at mass moving of material, same thing with presses, but as far as fine, minute, cleanly forged finishes, you're not really going to get that on a lot of power hammers unless you're very skilled or you're taking a lot of time where you could have just picked up a hand hammer and done the same thing. So I find that I have a lot more motor control in my arm and being able to make those fine micro adjustments versus in my foot to be able to take and do that on the power hammer. But where my power hammer really shines is when it comes to tooling, making tools, making anything where I've got production stuff to do, where I need to get a lot of metal moved quickly, and then I do all my finish work at the anvil, but I always find myself going to the anvil. It's important to remember this, that a power hammer is a tool. It's a very specific tool. It is not the tool. Neither is a press. A press is a tool. It's a very specific tool, but it is not the tool. You haven't arrived if you've got a power hammer. You haven't arrived at blacksmithing if you've got a press. You haven't arrived if you have both. You have arrived in blacksmithing? Never. We're always learning in blacksmithing. We're always using the tools that best suit the job at hand. A lot of people feel that if you get a power hammer, well, then you've really done something, you went somewhere. There's guys that come straight out of college with nothing but power hammer work, and you give them a hand hammer and they're lost. Same way, there's guys that all they do is make blades, and that's the only thing they ever started with, making short, flat, and pointy things, long, flat, and pointy things, and then you ask them to do the most simplest mundane task, and they can't accomplish that. So I look to be very well-rounded as a smith, and that's what I encourage other people to do, is to become very well-rounded. So this way you can make your own tongs, you can make your own stuff, try out different processes. If somebody wanted you to make a bear head on this end of your pommel or something, then you could forge that because you've had some experience forging animal heads. You know, stuff like that. That's how I go with that. But yeah, the power hammer only gets used when I have tooling, to make, or something usually generally just for the shop. And that's why my big hammer that I plan on building, which is a 400-pound ram weight, is for that purpose. It'll be for tooling that I need made in the shop. Oh, so this is good and hot. Let's go over to the new anvil there. All right, we're gonna set this piece down in here. We want it nice and hot. We're gonna drive straight down. That's good there. Pull it out before it gets stuck. And now we need to take and drive this material to the left and the right of this. It's kind of went more to one side. We can correct that by coming over here and offsetting it a little bit before we get going to a degree, but we're going to start drawing more material out that way with the cross peen of the hammer. And one thing I'll say real quick, I'll just mention this. This T-bolt, this bolt here, this clevis portion, that really got off to one side. I should have tried to draw it more. It looked like it was going down pretty even, but it was really off to one side. We'll see if we can't bring that back. If we can't, we won't worry about it. We'll just drop it and I'll forge a new one just that quick. I'm going to try to offset it real quick. I'm going to just do it right here at my anvil. I'm going to do it at my anvil so you don't have to switch screen. We'll do it at my anvil real quick, try to offset that a little bit before we go on to the next heat. I'm going to just do that real quick, try to give it a little bit more of an offset. You can do this a little bit, but if you do it too much, you end up creating a shear grain in there, and then it doesn't work out. And nothing's worse than getting to that final step, that final heat, and then it just cuts off or it shears off whenever you're threading it. So be careful with that when you do that. Getting this good and hot.
While you're doing that, I'll take a moment and thank our super chatters. Black Collar Ironworks, $20, and says, hey, y'all, don't forget to smash the like button. Yeah, thank you for giving that reminder. Let me go over there and look. Looks like we have 61 likes and 107 viewers currently. So
awesome.
Yes, and that's going up as I'm looking there, the thumbs up. Thank you very much. And there's one other one there. Let me scroll. Oh, Aimless Adventure, $10. Says, gots to go. Always a blessing to see you guys. God bless, love, peace, and chicken grease.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for the super chats. Really do appreciate you. Sorry, I've been just running my mouth and talking through this process maybe a little bit too much. It's awesome to have 100 of you plus in this stream. Thank you all for sharing the stream around. If you're new here, welcome. Welcome to the community. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this content, you'll enjoy the channel, and enjoy these Friday night live streams. We do them every other Friday night is our goal anyhow. That's what we try to do. And we start at 5 p.m. and we go till 7 p.m. usually. So I don't know how we're doing on that time frame, but we're gonna try to press on with this clevis here because I want to show 2 other little processes real quick. So that way you guys got a good foundation on how to make one of these yourself. Again, I might make a whole tutorial one day or a whole video showing all the steps in the process so you guys can see that better. But let's go back over to the anvil, Jess. So you can switch camera. Again, thank you for the super chats for those of you that have donated that way. We really do appreciate it. So I'm gonna put that down there in the hole. I'm just trying to hammer that material more in one direction than the other. Let it cool a little bit. Comes out. So now we need to take and hammer it in this direction to square it up. So I'll come out with the next heat and we'll start squaring up that T-pin there. I think we'll be able to just bring it over, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And we'll take some more questions or comments, Jess.
Jacob Rawls says, Roy, thank you for sharing. It's not a big deal you don't do knives. I like anything blacksmithing. I have been doing a bit of blacksmithing for 6 years.
Awesome. Congratulations. Thank you, Jacob Rawls. Appreciate it. Jacob, right? Yep. Jacob Rawls. Yep. Glad to have you part of the channel, sir. Yep, I get asked all the time about knives, if I make knives or not, and what types of knives I've made and things of that nature. And the funny thing is, before Forged in Fire, it was always what type of horses I shoe. Yeah. And now it's what type of knives you make. We'll go back to shoeing horses shortly.
Tanskoyo Forever says, hi, I don't have any idea where to start out in a blacksmithing career, and my family can't afford much. I don't even know what I need to begin concerning my budget. What can I do about my situation?
Best answer I can give you on that is you need to analyze your reasons for wanting to take and get into blacksmithing as a career. If it's out of just pure necessity, that is the most difficult way to get started in blacksmithing as a career. And I know this from experience. The best way is to already have a job of some sort that pays you decent, that you can have a little extra lucid income to spend building up your shop and building up a client base first with your work and getting very good at what you do first. That's the best way to take and go. Barring that, if you don't have that opportunity afforded to you and you do have to take up and say you're just wanting to do blacksmithing as a career and that's it and you just can't settle for anything else, that's okay too. The best thing I can advise you to do is spend time at the anvil and make simple things. Don't overcomplicate it. Be proud of the work you do. Put out a good product and market yourself well. Those are the biggest things that I can give you as of advice. It does not matter the type of equipment you're using. You could be beating on a rock as long as that rock won't explode when hot metal's touched to it. You could be beating two rocks together with a hot piece of metal between them. What matters is the product that comes out of your forge. That's what matters, and how much willing and determination that you're going to put into it. Because I will tell you that it is very difficult to do this for a living, and there's ebbs and flows in it. There's ups and downs in this business. If you want a lot of good hardcore advice on business related things, we have an entire playlist section devoted to blacksmithing business, and I suggest you check that out. And that will help you with things like marketing yourself better and what type of projects to undertake and simple projects and things like that. So let's go to the anvil, Jess. Let's go over to the anvil. Hot enough. Since we got the camera here, I'm going to just go ahead and use here as my example. I want to take and draw out this piece if I can. If I can drop it a couple times, why not? Why not? Switch around here. Consequently, this is the same process if you were going to be making a T-pin for a lock. So if you're going to make a T-pin or a center pin for the tube of the key to ride on a lock, this is the same process that you would use in that, incidentally. All right, that's looking pretty good. I've got to thin it out a little bit more. Got to draw a little bit more material that way, but it's starting to look pretty good. Hopefully they can see that on camera, and it's looking good. So we'll get another heat on that. As you can see, I got a little bit of a valley in there. That's not ideal, but through me planishing this out, hammering this out, I'll get rid of that valley in this next heat. Next question.
Yes. Okay. I wanted to read one real quick. Where did it go? Jason Du Bois, thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope you have a great night. And then also, we got a Red Super Chat, which is over $100 from Champ, and is $120. And he said, just sold my 537th ruler and am officially out of business and selling only to retailers. And please send Coffee some stickers.
I will take care of him, Champ. I will send him half a sticker, and then when you make your other half of a payment, I'll send him the other half of the sticker. Everybody, you guys better have been giving them all a hand clap, all of our Super Chat donators. Champ, sir, you're amazing. You know how to bless a man. I really do appreciate you. You know that. Thank you, sir, for being in the stream. Oh, that is awesome. There's always got to be that one guy, isn't there, ladies and gentlemen? There's always got to be that one guy that's got to show everybody else up, huh? Yeah. But what you couldn't ask for a better guy to take and show you up, though. Champ's a really, really cool dude. Really appreciate it. And that is awesome, awesome to hear that you sold out of your last ruler that you're wanting to do. That's awesome. Or I think that's what he said. That's his last that he wants to do, right?
Yeah, he's just doing retail only. Or, well, selling to retailers only.
Okay, just selling to retailers only. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. You kind of stumbled across a little bit of a gravy train there, so that's epic, Champ. Great job, buddy. Great job. All right, let's go back over to the anvil, Jess.
All right.
Again, thank you so much for the super chat. Tossing it. Put that back on there. Well, that thing's probably too deep rooted now. I'm probably never going to get that little thing out of there. It's not the subject of the night anyhow, but that's what you want to work this out to. You're going to work this piece out. I was able to bring it back around, so that's good. Really hammering on it a little bit too cold, but just get that squared up so we don't have to take one more heat and getting finicky with it. So now the next step is I need to clean up this area back here where you can see it's a little bit choppy. Need to hammer on that just a fuzz more. And then we can go ahead and bend this up at the regular anvil. So we will bend these up for the clevis portion at the regular anvil.
Now that you guys noticed Milk Dud, he decided to run off. He was sitting with me for about 10 minutes. So, let's see here. Champ said right now he is doing a minimum of 200 rulers at $40 per.
Woo! That's epic, brother. You can't ask for better than that. Before you know it, you'll have to outsource it, huh? Just joking. I know how you feel about that. Oh, but that's cool. That's an awesome business. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm still flabbergasted at the $100 super chat plus. I can't thank you enough for that. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Drayson's Forge says that super chat's going to be running till 4 a.m. LOL. Yeah, it is. It's only eaten like a tenth of the bar so far, so it'll be up there for quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, if y'all don't know, for the ones that don't know how the super chats work, the more the super chat donation amount, the longer your comment stays pegged at the top. So if you wanted to comment fluffy kittens, and you just wanted that comment to be at the top, pegged at the top of the chat, the way to do that is you pay more and it expires. So like if you do a $2 super chat, it's up there for under 2 minutes. It's not up there very long. It's like a minute. It's up there. If you do a $5 super chat, it's like 2 or 3 minutes long. If it's a $10 super chat, it's up there for maybe 4 or 5 minutes long, so on and so forth. So, and if it's a $100 super chat, it's up there for at least an hour. I know that. I've never seen one drop off a $100 super chat, and I've been on some pretty long streams, so yeah. All right, I'm going to move this. Camera one more time. So field me some more questions, please.
Thomas Edwards had commented, Jessica, I'm sorry about your sister. Why didn't you use this platform to preach about diabetes in memory of your sister? Yeah, she had type 1 diabetes. She had it since she was a child. And really, she did pretty well of looking after herself. After she graduated high school, she went off to college, and then she actually went overseas to teach second grade at an international school in China for a couple of years, and she was still able to manage her diabetes. So she did a decent job of it, and she didn't even have any signs of any complications. So it was really unexpected. As far as just kind of, I guess, letting people know about diabetes, as, try to have low stress in your life, and, whatever that means for you, just having some quiet time or things you enjoy, or prayer or meditation, and try to keep low stress, and just watching how you eat also, that's important too. and staying active. So yeah, I guess that's what I want to share about that. Stephen McDaniel says, I have a question, Roy. If you write with your left hand, wouldn't you use the hammer in your left hand also?
Great question. The only thing I do with my left hand is writing. I'm ambidextrous with both. I can swing with my left, I can swing with my right, I can bat left, I can bat right, I can do either or. So I'm ambidextrous in every other way, except for writing. For some reason, I can't get the hang. I can't get the hang of right-handed writing. In fact, I had a dream one time that I was writing something and it was like, it looked all like Shakespearean, and it was with my right hand, and I was like, oh, I'm writing with my right hand, and I woke up. So nope, can't write with my right hand. That's a no-go for me, but I can swing a hammer both ways, hold tongs either way. That's to an advantage, but don't ask me why. I'm just a weirdo like that. So let's go to the anvil, Jess. Need to fix this up. All right, let's see if I can get this in close enough and grip it just right to help clean up that T-pin area there, just on the back side. Got a bit of scale right there under the hammer. Ugh. That's one of the worst ways to get scale on your hand too, right under your hammer handle. Okay, all I'm doing here is just trying to get this straight and in line. So that's really all I'm doing here. Don't get too carried away with this. It's going to get a little crooked here in just a second. So now the trick is we need to heat just this area up here, and then we need to take and bend these over the edge of the anvil. And then we'll do that. When you do that, you want to leave a little bit of space, just a little bit of space. You don't want to be right on this bolt when you bend them. You want to make sure the bolt is on the anvil, and then that's hanging off the edge to take and draw that down around. By the way, for those that are questioning it, that T-pin there is about 2 inches wide, roughly. It's about 2 inches all the way across, and then it's of course like back to its original dimension, which is 1/2 inch. So it's 1/2 inch by 2 inch, or 12.5 mil by 50 mil long.
Jason Sisk says, do you get so wrapped up in your work that you find yourself out in the forge late at night?
Occasionally I do. I try not to though. Usually I start killing it off. Unless I have an order that I absolutely have to push out the door, I usually don't. I've got kids, so I try to be inside for them, you know, come bedtime, right after dinner. I try to start relaxing these days. And just spending time with my kids and wife. I don't try to burn too much midnight oil. Occasionally, I will get engrossed in my work, and I'll say, okay, I'm just gonna stay at this because I'm on a roll. But those are usually, those are instances that are kind of far between, few and far between. I generally try to take and be good and be a good dad and be involved with my kids in the evening, so. Answer to that. All right, let's go to the anvil. Great question.
You said next question?
Nope, I said great question. All right, so we're gonna just hammer this down right at 90 degree. Okay, now here comes the tricky one. The tricky one is you can't set it there, so you're gonna have to tilt this up and go like so. And then just give that an extra whack. And it's going to kind of look like that a little bit. That's okay, you don't want to push this too far. We're going to end up shaping this here in a minute around the actual stock that it's going to have to go to. You do want to be careful with this. You have to understand that you've put this thing through a lot of hammering in this direction. You've done a lot of material change. So if you're not careful, you can start developing cracks and other things like that, which is no bueno. We don't want to do that. But let me grab this piece over here real quick. Come back to the anvil. So we're going to be able to go right in there, and we're going to be able to set this down now, set this material down onto this, and shape it around there, do our final shaping around that. But that's how you kind of build out a clevis. That could be a very handy thing in the future if you guys have any interest in doing lock work, anything that has, you know, that needs to be mechanical and functioning, you know, stuff like that. Knowing how to make these clevises or T-pins can be very handy. So let's get that hot. So just like jaws of vices, we're going to set that down on our stock that it's going to go to, just like a jaw on a vise. Just like a jaw on a pair of tongs. Woo! If I could speak proper English tonight, that would be great. Just kidding. I don't ever speak proper English. You all, yeah. They thought for a whole second that I was going to speak proper English, huh? That's an inside joke for anybody who's been on the channel for a long time. They know what I'm talking about. One question.
Let's see, this one comes from Possum Sausage and says, do you forge much wrought iron? I have, and I love how responsive it is under the hammer.
Yes, I forge quite a bit of wrought iron. It's a great material to work with. I don't use it as much as I want to sometimes, just because simply wrought iron costs quite a bit to obtain. You know, I get it for, I've gotten a good amount of wrought iron, but since it is more of a historical metal, I save it for special jobs. I don't just forge anything and everything out of wrought iron. It's a great material to work with though, and I do really enjoy working with it. But yeah, wrought iron is very responsive under the hammer, and I really enjoy it. Oh. All right, we're gonna go to the anvil, okay? Over at the anvil, we're gonna stick this in here. Let it just set there. And all we're doing is getting that first initial set. We're gonna stick our pin up. And we're going to come over the hardy hole, and that's going to square out the bottom of our clevis. By putting that to where that's bridging the hardy hole and bringing that down on top, that causes us to have a bit of a bridge anvil to where we can work that inside corner square, and then we can come back to the outside, and drive that square. And create us a nice tight fit. Again, this is going to get refined to a degree later, and you can also file it up if you need to get everything in line and straight up while you're doing your file work to this piece. So don't spend too craziness amounts of time on this. It's not meant to be perfect at this stage. You just want it to be fairly good. While this is still a little cool, I'm going to come here, and that'll loosen that up. All right, that's really going to be good enough, I think. Now we'll see how that fits. I'm going to heat this back up, brush it down, and then we'll see how it fits with our dragon portion. Next question.
Steve, Uncle Buck's Forge, good to have you this evening. We also have Alex from Valhalla Ironworks and CM Town's Blacksmith, and someone had commented this is about to sound like a new episode of the Forge Cast. That's what Curtis at Noble Pursuit Ironworks said.
What's going to be the new episode of the Forge Cast? Yeah, it is. Hey, Alex, good to see you, sir. If you don't know Valhalla Ironworks, you should. Go check him out. Go subscribe to him. Same thing, Sam Towns. If you don't know him, check him out. Go subscribe to him. And what's that? Yep, Niels Ogren, same thing. If you don't know him, you should. Go see him, go check him out. I think he's awesome. All these people are on Instagram as well. They're definitely worth a follow to catch up with them, what they're doing. Lot of good channels in here tonight that are always around. Go check them out if you get a chance. Really awesome folks, really awesome family to be a part of in this blacksmithing world here. So can't say enough about those fellas. Ladies and gentlemen in the comment section that are in all my streams, I really can't say enough about y'all. You're absolutely amazing. Also, I don't know if she's in here tonight, but Ouroboros Armory, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know if she's in here tonight, but she also has a great channel that she's definitely worth going and checking out. If you want to see how a female gets it done in the forge. Really good smithing over there on her channel. Trying to straighten up this pin. It got a little bit on the bent and crooked side, but now's a great time for me to do that. Just refine this pin up a little bit. I'm getting to be a little bit of a Nancy about this, but a little bit too finicky. But that's looking good. I'm gonna call that good at that because that can always be filed up at a later date. Now the important thing is to test it to our knocker, and it'll fit just on there like so. And that'll cause it to rock like so. What's there? Cool?
Yeah.
Anybody commenting?
Yeah. Well. Not about that specifically.
Okay, so people are commenting about things we don't care about right now, huh?
Horse-driven Wi-Fi.
Horse-driven Wi-Fi.
And the Amish.
And the Amish. Well, there's a lot of things to talk about there, so I understand. I understand what I'm doing may not be your cup of tea to pay attention to. Want to talk about horse-driven Amish people, Wi-Fi, whatever's going on. I shouldn't really get in on this conversation. But you're making Jess laugh, so congratulations. Good job. I'll make that fit a little looser. Perfect. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Just like so. Hopefully everybody likes that. So that portion's done. Now on to the last portion that I'm going to show tonight. Set that off the side. And that's how to make your decorative washers. If you can make decorative washers, you can make decorative nuts. They're pretty simple, pretty easy to do. They're basically the same. I'm going to show you how to forge those up. Questions? Concerns? Complaints?
Joe Creek says, my daughter has picked up the blacksmithing bug. Can you repeat that name that we missed it?
Ouroboros? Right?
Yep, Ouroboros Armory. Go check her out. Again, gain a little bit of inspiration there from her. That'd be good.
Evil Twin X says, weather is cooling down here in New York, so hopefully I will get back at my forge soon. And it's glad to see you. It seems like it's been a little bit since we've seen you on a live stream. So hope you're doing well.
Yeah,
and yeah.
Evil Twin X, good to have you here.
Black Collar Ironworks, $5 super chat. Good night all and happy forging. Have a great night.
Black Collar Ironworks, thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate you. I'm assuming, sir. I'm assuming, sir. Yeah, that's right, yeah. Black Ironworks. I think so. But anyways, if I'm wrong, just say, hey. Probably should do that. But anyways, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the $5 super chat. God bless you. You have a great evening. Thank you for coming out and checking out what we're doing over here. We do appreciate the support. All right. So, last step in this process. I'm going to show you how to make a washer. And if you all haven't noticed by now, we have made every single part of this knocker from the same bar stock. This is what you can do when you get a good strong foundations in the fundamentals and you learn the forging process and how to manipulate material. You can take one piece of bar stock that you have laying on hand and you can make just about everything you can think of for your project, as long as there's enough volume in that piece to start with. So you're noticing that I'm working with 1/2 inch by 5/8 material. Think of that if that was 1 inch by 1 inch material. How many things could you make out of that volume of material before you ran out of material? Chances are you can make a lot. You can make everything from nails to rivets to fire pokers to you name it out of that. You make tooling, tongs, all sorts of stuff with very little added material involved. And this is what it means to be a blacksmith, and a forger of iron, is to take and manipulate metal, manipulate material at the anvil, or at the press or vise or at the power hammer. It's meant to, again, manipulate material. So this is the part that I like the most. Again, I've been using nothing but one piece of stock. And some of the greatest things that I like to show off is, it's still heating, that's almost there. We'll go over to the anvil real quick. I just want to show this off for a second. We started here and we've ended up here so far. So that's that transformative process of blacksmithing. And, that's why it's good to get a good foundation in your fundamentals. We've made all that out of the same bar stock. And it's kind of hard to believe that piece there especially, this piece here especially, came from the same bar that this thing came from. And then the washers that I'm about to make, the decorative washers, is going to be like, those came from the same bar too. That's crazy, so if you want to kind of impress your friends or have a good time in the forge, impress yourself, try your best, try making everything from one bar stock that you need on a process like this, and just see how it goes. It really does help you kind of gauge where you're at in smithing and how well you can move material. So first step in this, we'll go to the anvil. Are we still there? Yep. All right. We're going to pull this out. Again, I'm going to set over the Hardy tool about 1 inch of material, maybe a little more. Not quite sure what that is. Probably, yeah, it's probably about right. So again, about 25 mil material or 1 inch of material. We're going to try to cut this to center. That's the goal here. It's going to end us up with like a little Tootsie Roll piece of metal. As close to center as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go about that far with it. Get a pair of tongs. We're going to break that off. We'll set that back on the top of the fire so it can be heating up. While it does that, I'm going to straighten this bar out. And that's going to make our second washer as well. But we'll set that off to the side of the fire. We'll work on the first washer first. Get rid of this. Clean your anvil. Good to go.
Yeah, we just got up and hit 100 viewers again, so that's awesome. It's right around 99 right now. And 93 likes. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Let me not scroll past it. Uncle Buck's Forge, $20. Company is here. gotta go, but I'd rather be here. Have a good evening, Steve.
Good evening, Steve. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate your support. Really do. Oh, and by the way, I know he's leaving. I've probably been running my mouth too much. Hopefully that won't fall down in the fire. Give me 1 second here. Boop, 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 boop. I have a video tutorial coming here very soon on welding up Uncle Buck's Forge guillotine tool. You want to go to the anvil? Sure. So I've got a video tutorial very soon of making this guillotine tool from Uncle Buck's Forge. He has these cut out. Again, if you want to go check him out, way to do that. He's always so supportive of our channel, and I just really can't thank him enough. So another great channel to go check him out over on his at Uncle Buck's Forge. All right, this is probably getting hot. Yep, it is. I'm gonna grab this out. Then I'll continue on with the tomfoolery. All right, on the anvil, we're gonna stand it straight up, lengthwise, squat it down here. And now we're gonna lay it up, flatten. And basically, we're just trying to create a square of material. That's the key here. Just create yourself a nice square of material. Now you don't have to get this perfect, but the closer you get this to perfectly square, the easier the next step will be for you. So it's worth taking that little bit of extra time to really planish this into a nice looking square. There, just like so. If you guys can see that well. We'll get it good and hot again. Question?
Yes. One earlier was if you ever get bored of, do you ever get bored of blacksmithing? And then the other one was, I'll pull it up here in a minute. It was in reference to whether you're going to be drifting or punching the hole in the piece.
Good. So I will not be punching or drifting the hole. It's more accurate to just drill it. So I'll drill it. I have filing and drilling that I have to do for the clevis piece anyhow, so I wouldn't mess with punching. I would just drill it. It's a lot easier to just drill the washers that way. So I'll be drilling it, won't be punching it. I forget what the other question was.
If you get bored blacksmithing.
I don't really ever get bored blacksmithing. What I get, my biggest problem that I have is getting stressed with deadlines in the shop. That for me is the hardest thing for me to overcome, and it just really kills my creativity. And when my creativity's gone, I just really have lackluster for the craft at that point. So I really hope to, I'm slowly transitioning my work to where I have longer and longer time to work on things and specifically get to illustrate my skills on the piece of metal that I'm working on versus just trying to push a product out of the door. I've done that for a lot of years now, production-wise. I've put out about 4,000 copper bowls and vessels in my career so far. I've put out over 200 skillets, hand-forged skillets. Actually, I think it was like 400 skillets. Went well over 400 skillets. I've put out, I don't know how many hundreds of roses I've done, thousands of calla lilies, floral sculptures, you name it, bunch of stuff like that. And where that has been, I've been very blessed to have that type of work. I'm moving on now towards stuff where it excites me, and hoping people will see that excitement and want to pay for it. So for me, the stress of having a deadline that I absolutely have to, a hard, fast deadline, for me, that sucks the joy out of blacksmithing. But as far as yesterday, I forged a Nordic style door knocker because I wanted to forge a Nordic style door knocker, and I was just absolutely happy. Happier than any man could be in the forge. Happy as a pig in sunshine, you know. So, yeah, I don't ever really get bored. Great question, though. Great question. Man, a lot of really great questions out there happening. All right. I'll pull this out, Jess. Go to the anvil. Okay. So now, just like anything that we need to turn around, we're going to turn this up on the corner, on the diagonal, or on the diamond. Try to get it set up right. If it doesn't want to behave, we can make it behave. We're going to roll it. Go up to the next corner. And we want to hammer the diamond out of it. And then we're going to roll that. And now we're going to go ahead and grab the piece like so. Take out any of that puckering. And then we'll be ready to clean this up a little more round in the next heat. We'll be able to go a little more round with this in the next heat. We'll roll it, and then we're going to draw this out into our actual washer. This right here is more about an exercise in forging than it is practical. If you're going to make something like this for a product or something that you're going to sell, a piece of art, whatever, take the easy way out and just cut the end off of a round bar and make yourself a washer that way. Give it a little hammer texture and call it a day. It's really not worth doing this for anything more than just a forging exercise to show that you can do it if you had to. Questions?
Will Lothridge ask, what have you decided to do to keep the snow and the wind out of the shop?
The best thing I've decided to do is absolutely nothing, because there will be, actually, I have a lot of classes. I'm going to be here less, actually, until after the first of the year. Until after the first year, I've got like every other couple weekends or something, I'm going out of town or I'm coming and going. So I'm not going to have a solid run at the forge to just be in the shop every day. I imagine once I have to stand out here for several days in a row and super cold and snow, my plan might change and I'll come up with something at that point. But as of right now, don't really have a plan. But great question. Honey, let's go to the anvil. I don't have to keep these people waiting. All right, now the key to this, to round this up, we want to take and never hit the same place twice if we can keep from it. Just incrementally, we're going to forge that down before it fish lips too much. Forge it back on the flat. It's through this repeatedly bringing it up on its edge and refining its edge, okay? And then flattening it back out is how you develop a really nice round medallion-like shape on your washer. Again, think about that we came from a piece of rectangular shaped steel. Now we've got an egg-shaped piece of steel. Beautiful. Round enough for our liking. All right, now we've got a nice round puck. You guys can see that, looks good. The next step will be to draw that out. So we'll heat this up and we're going to draw it a little bit more round. Draw out, thin it out, I should say. That's more proper terminology for what we're about to do. Questions, comments, complaints?
Curtis says, Jess and her notes. Can we see tonight's notes and how many pages? It's only, oh, here we go. It is, you can't even see it, it's too blown out. It's only half a page, but yes, I keep track of stuff. And then the other question was, Will Batic said, gotta say too, Roy, I was watching the Fundamentals playlist yesterday and was blown away with how detailed and easy to follow that it was.
Awesome. I'm so glad you enjoyed that playlist and that it was easy to follow. You know, I kind of felt like that was some of my best content that I've ever made, just because I really believe in learning the fundamentals. I preach them all the time. So again, just for me, making that playlist meant a lot for me to take and put that out there, because you'll find a lot of projects on YouTube. We have over 1,300 videos. By the way, we did cross that threshold, and we did cross the 48,000 subscriber milestone, so thank you all who had subscribed. We went over 1,300 videos as well here on the platform, and one of the things that I noticed when I was looking around on YouTube was there was a lot of like, oh, well, this is how I made a leaf, a hook, a flower, or whatever, and then there was a lot of like hip hop song type videos and things where they didn't really say how they were making it, they were just making it, kind of like just maker type videos. But there was very few people who were really honing in on fundamental forging practices. So that's that in blacksmithing business. So we were the originators of that type of content, of putting up blacksmithing for business type videos out. And then, you know, the fundamental practices, forging practices, we were fairly early adopters of that in our thing. So I personally like that quite a bit myself. So let's go to the anvil. So now to do this, I'm going to use my cross peen to draw things out in a circle. If you want it to stay a circle, you have to keep rotating the piece. So you go around, and as we rotate this piece around, as we forge, it's going to get broader and broader and thinner and thinner. Flip it. All right, you know, see it's slightly domed, and also my tongs are kind of biting into the material a bit much. So it would be better to do tongs that don't have teeth. So now it's slightly domed. So when we hammer that flat to get that back to a flat disc, that dome is going to push out the sides.
Jason Sisk asks, have you ever taken a job that you absolutely did not like?
Oh, have I? Early on in my career as a blacksmith, I would forge anything that wasn't tied down. I would forge anything and everything that would come through the door. Didn't matter what it was. I found out real quick that knives wasn't going to get it done, so I stopped even attempting at getting better at doing those. And so more or less, not necessarily the job was something that I didn't want to do, but I was taking jobs and work from pushy people, or people who didn't respect what I was doing, or they didn't understand that they were buying from an artist and not a machine. And so therefore, but I would just swallow down the pride and just take the job, because, you know, having a roof over your head is more important than, you know, having your pride. So I would take, you know, in those instances, I was kind of just taking whatever work I could find. And in those days, I took a lot of jobs, worked with a lot of clients that I necessarily did not like, but it was just more or less just so I could get the income to keep the roof over our head. But now, there's a lot less of those, few and far between. Occasionally I'll get an overly picky customer, and I usually just don't put up with it. I either give money back, or, you know, if they're in a super rush, I just tell them I'm not interested right out the gate. So I can afford, not necessarily I can afford, that's bad terminology for it. I have no fear in passing on a bad client to pick up a good client that respects me for who I am and what I do. And so that's where I'm at now. Let's go to the anvil. Everybody's gonna be like, why in the world? Anybody new coming into the stream, they're probably like, why in the world are they watching him make a disc, an iron cookie? Hammer this flat, if I can get a hold of it. That's the hardest part of this washer making experience right now at this point in time, is just holding on to the bloom thing. If you can hold on to it, you'll be all right. Grip it from the edge a little bit. I'm just planishing it out flat to a degree. Good enough. Woo, 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 woo. There you have it. That's how you made that, again, out of that. That's the transformative process. So again, the clevis will go through here. I'll make a decorative border. And the way I make that decorative border, I'm not sure I can actually show on camera just because, well, I could probably do it right there. That would show on camera. I'll show you how I make the decorative border around it. Let me grab that, an example. This decorative border that goes around the washer. That's the portion that makes it decorative. Of course, you could do whatever you want. It's just what I chose to do for this particular instance. What else, Jess? What do we got?
All right, a question from Evil Twin X. Would using a flatter be easier?
This should go right down. Put it back in the anvil the wrong way. There we go. All right. To answer that question, a flatter can take out a little bit of the work there, but you have to overcome the mass of the flatter. So you have to strike the flatter pretty hard. You have to use a heavier hammer to get that force to translate versus my 1 3/4 pound hammer. So yeah, it would be a lot easier. You could just set that on there and just give it a good couple big whacks like that. I just don't have my flatter out and accessible right now to mess with it. But yeah, it's a great option there, Evil Twin X. So here's my hammer that I'm going to be using. This is a small crosspeen hammer. I'm going to be striking the face of the crosspeen hammer while using the peen as a small fuller with my soft face hammer. Let's be very clear about that. Do not strike hammers together. Hammer to hammer is a bad idea. So let's go to the anvil. Okay. I've got a little block set up in the anvil's hardy hole there to take and act as a backing block. And then I'm just going to come right along the edge and right next side one another. And as I go, I'm just going to take and hammer those in there, the little fuller marks. Tilt it up, rotate. Tilt it up, rotate. You want to make sure you're clearing your anvil face so you're not putting a bunch of little dinks in your anvil face from the peen of the hammer. So I just push it in and then I rotate. Nothing to it. If you go too far over before you rotate the piece, you'll end up kicking out the piece off the anvil. It'll go flying across the shop. Now without demonstrating, I was able to do this in one heat, so that was pretty good. I'm going to have to hit it a little harder now that it's kind of cooling down. Like so. Keep rotating. It's probably a longer stream than what we should have probably let it go, but I really wanted to get you guys the kind of the core foundation of what we were doing. So this way you can take this to your own home forge. Hopefully they can see that. Can they see that pretty well?
Yep.
I've got like a blaring light right in my face, so I can't see the screen. So I was just making sure they could see that really well.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, cool. So that's how you make that there. So while we're still at the anvil, I'll grab the other pieces to just kind of show how these pieces relate. So for the decorative nut, you'll make the same thing. You're just going to forge it square, and you'll make the decorative nut that way. There's a decorative washer that we made, and I just drilled, went straight through. So this way it fits over our clevis. And then the nut goes on the back side of the door and draws it tight. So you can put the decorative nut on the back side, and that's how it cinches up nice and tight. And then, of course, this will be drilled and then riveted, just like you would do a tong rivet or anything else. You're going to rivet it, and then you're going to have to hot work this joint to fit, so this way it will, in fact, knock against the door, like so. And then for this, you're going to forge a nail. I made this nail out of 3/8 inch material, 3/8 inch stock, and then draw it out into your taper, and then head it in a nail header. And then I drilled a 1/4 inch hole in the washer for that nail to slip through, just like so. Now, if you'll notice, it's a little off, and don't be taken off by that. I made the hole little off center on the washer because this nail's head was a little off center, so I can rotate that around to where it squares it up, and it's right in the center now. So you don't have to worry about that. And again, that'll go through the door and be clinched over on the other side. So that's kind of how all those pieces come together in the end in relation to one another. We'll see how close we came here. Pretty close. I took a little less material on this one. This one's a little smaller. I took a little less material for it. Forged it out a little more dainty, but it's pretty close. Pretty accurate to the other one. It's kind of hard to compare them right there, but again, I could have used a little bit more material for the head portion, maybe come over a bit more, and then as far as the tail portion, I forged that out a little thinner, and I left that a little thicker because I started with more material on the anvil that I drew out to begin with. So I left it a little thicker, but dimensionally, it's pretty close. Pretty close. So that's what we're looking for. That's it for that. There's not really much else to show on this process that we can do for tonight's stream. Come up here, honey. So we're good to go there. Any questions, comments, complaints, concerns? Silliness?
Let's see. Possum Sausage had asked, what is a soft-faced hammer? Which some of the other subscribers had mentioned the answer to that. Just a mild steel hammer for hitting hardened tools.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, my lovely subscribers who answered that. It's part of the channel for quite a while. Thank you for being helpful.
And Nosedive asked, what has been your favorite project since starting?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's a good one. One of my favorite projects ever, and it was just kind of from the time and what the sentiment around it was. One of my favorite projects since starting blacksmithing has been my door lock that I made with a master smith called Tom Latané. And he's a master locksmith up in Pepin, Wisconsin, and he makes a bunch of historical type locks, padlocks, door locks, rim locks, chest locks, crab locks, things like that. Highly suggest you go check him out, and if you get a chance to take a class with him, you will not regret it. Absolutely won't. It just blows your mind. It blows my mind every time. I've been doing this quite a while now, but anyways, I won't get into that. It just, the way he looks at steel is the way I wish I could look at steel, you know, and he's somebody I hope to obtain to his level of smithing someday, in my own styling, of course. But yeah, so I made a lock with a 2-week internship. I was kind of apprenticing underneath him, and I made a lock during that time on our off hours. I helped him in his shop during the day and worked, and we made like 5 different locks in that amount of time, or the components for I got to help forge. And then in the evenings we would work on my lock, and he'd work on other parts of the process while I was focusing on my lock. And just for me, that was kind of really the eye-opening experience for me of what you could do with manipulating metal, was with Tom Latney and doing that. So that's been one of my favorite projects of all time. Also, I took a hammer class with him where we made this hammer. This has been my daily driver now for going on, what, 7 years now, Jess? Yeah. 7, almost 8 years, I think it has been. This has been my daily driver every day of the week. And so, yeah, I'm pretty partial to my hammer. So it would be a toss-up between those. That's a great question. But yeah, between this and that other part, both of them involved Tom Latney, so those both been my favorites.
Here, there's also a question from Doe Creek Forge on our previous conversation. How do you turn down a job without losing a paying customer?
Easy answer, you don't. You just have to have enough backbone to say that I'm not willing to work for that, for whatever that is. You know, if you have a customer that is calling you outside of a specific skill set where you're going to lose money on it, or you're having a customer that's, you know, being insanely pushy or something like that, it is better for your state of mind and your mental health and everything else to just lose the job. It's not worth it. It really isn't, because what'll happen is you will not put 110% of yourself into that type work. I can guarantee you from experience. You won't. You'll be stressed. You'll cut corners. You'll drill holes crooked, and you'll fill them up with weld and drill them somewhere else crooked, and it'll be a nightmare for you. So when it comes to lost wages, let it be lost wages. And sometimes you have to do that. If people ask you to do things that are just outside of your comfort zone, I mean, this is a free economy. No one's holding a bang bang to your head. Can't say that on YouTube anymore. We'll be demonetized in a half a second. But like no one's forcing you into labor to take and work on anything. And so therefore, why would you? I mean, you don't go home to go work for an egotistical boss. You go to regular day jobs to do that if you have an egotistical boss. There's a lot of really great employers out there. A lot of times the employees are that's a rant for another day. But anyways, but yeah, there is no retaining a customer if you tell them that you're not interested in the work that they're wanting to provide for you. So, I mean, they might later on. There's a certain customers that I've built a relationship with over time where I've done other jobs, and I can say, and they'll come up like, hey, what do you think about this? Would you be interested in making this? And they ask. They're kind of coming from that position of ask, like, would you be interested in making this? And then I can say, you know what, it's just really not my thing. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they go find somebody else. But then they'll come back to me, and I'm always like their go-to. I'm their first person they'll ask for forge work. And if it fits in and I've got the time to do it, I'll say, yeah, I'll do that for you. And it's great. It's an easy sale that way. But if you're coming across somebody online, which I've done many a times, where they're like, hey, I need this out by next week, and you know for a fact that that's going to require you to take and lose all the sleep at night. You're going to have to go to work dragging butt because you were out in the forge till 3 a.m. Your neighbors are unhappy with you now. You know what I mean? Things like that. You know, if it's going to be like that, it's not worth it. Trust me, not worth it. It'll be one of those deals where you'll end up regretting that you did the job in the long run. And a lot of times, you'll make something and they'll expect perfection at the same point. So they wanted it done in 3 hours. It was a job that needed to take 10, and then they'll be unhappy with the result because it's not of the same quality that they were expecting to get it for. So you'll end up eating the cost of the job anyhow. So don't do that. Just have a backbone, lose the client if that's what has to be, or they will respect you for who you are and what you can accomplish for them, and they will be patient and keep open lines of communication. Great question. I mean, that's a great thing to expand upon. We haven't had a business talk in a while, so maybe we ought to have a specific business live stream. If you guys would appreciate that, let us know in the comment section down below if you guys have a bunch of questions like that you'd like to have just a sitting business live stream some evening. Let us know.
Especially in the winter.
Yeah, especially in the winter. That way we can stay inside where it's warm. What else, son?
Let's see here. Tom Carlson says, I'm making a flatter from a sledgehammer. Do I have to heat that up to soften the hammer so that I can hit it with another hammer?
You would be correct, Tom Carlson. You want to make sure that you soften, you preheat that hammer up to where it loses all of its hardness and wrecks the temper. You want to soften that hammer up so this way it can withstand other hammers striking it. And even at that, as an additional measure, I would still suggest getting a soft-faced hammer of some kind. Big chunk of mild steel, or hitting it with another annealed piece of steel. That way you're eliminating a risk of getting chips or shards shot out at you, just in case you miss something. Be careful there, but hopefully it works out for you.
Evil Twin X says, the artist in me appreciates these types of projects, Roy. And Tev0714 says, is this project going to be released in an edited video at a later date? I came in right at the end.
I'm thinking about making an edited video of it at a later date. I may not do a tutorial with it. I may just do a follow along kind of thing where, you know, I do the work and then I might pop in and talk about some of the in-depth portions of it later on. I'll have to see how it goes. The problem with doing this is, as you guys have seen, this is a 2-hour live stream, right? 2-hour plus live stream. And I've just gotten to the point where I've got one washer made, one clevis made, and one knocker portion made. I have not made the nail. I have not made the decorative nut. I haven't fitted the pieces together. I haven't done the final file work in the threading of the clevis bolt, and I haven't made the other decorative washer and finish it all out and have it all done. And for a regular YouTube video to sound coherent and as a tutorial, it might be a 4 or 5 hour long video. And so to try to take and condense that down is very difficult to choose what information needs to be in the video and what's not. So I may do kinda a tutorial, but more of like a follow along the process type video, because I think that would be really neat to do and show some of the additional stuff. But if you need to rewatch, I went over a lot of stuff, didn't I, Jess, in the stream tonight about this. So rewatch the beginning, the replay, and where we've gotten to this point in this process. But thank you for joining us anyhow, right at the end. What else we got, Jess?
All right. Let's see. Tom Carlson says, I think you explained it in an honest answer and tell it the way it is. They'll accept your answer, and if they don't like it, they can walk. And Ouroboros Armory says, hey all.
Hey Ouroboros. We were just talking about you about 25 minutes ago, weren't we? Yeah. Yep. Sent a young little lady over your direction. So be sure to check out your subscriber feed. I'm sure you got a new one.
Champ Ironworks says, Dragon bedtime, gotta go. Great stream as always, you two. God bless, love ya. Hashtag stick to cricket. Hashtag not the flavor of the month. Those are old ones.
That's a lot of old ones there. Hey, Champ, thank you, brother, for being here. Thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate you. And yeah, for all the love. Hashtag Blacksmith family. Boom. There's your new one. What else?
Daniel Crawford says, so basically take that hammer above critical temperature and take the whole thing above non-magnetic level for at least 5 minutes, then shut off the forge and let it cool very slowly or cool and vermiculate.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. Or you can just bring it out and set it up, set it off the side of the forge fire somewhere. You don't have to let it cool in the forge. You could just bring it out and just set it over either in the ashes of the forge. You can just let it sit on top of the coal off to the side where it's not going to be catching anything on fire or flammable. Or I've done it before where I had my forge hood before where I had it up here. I had like a shelf on top of the forge hood. I just set it up on top of there and just let it cool down across the day, and it was fine. So, and it only has to take and really cool down to a point to where you can kind of touch it. You know, about 100 degrees. If it gets down to around 100 degrees, 120 degrees or so, you can go ahead and dunk it in a bucket of water and cool it down the rest of the way, and you should be fine. There won't be any hardness there left in it. If you need to speed it along. The safest method, just let it cool off to the side of the forge until you can fully grab it and it has no heat left in it.
We are rolling up on 8 o'clock, and let's see. Doe Creek Forge says, thank you for the advice. New Penny Forge says, very wise. And
Welcome.
Let's see. Oh yeah, that's all I was guessing.
That's all you're gonna say. All right, so thank you all. Thank you all very much for being here. I really do appreciate each and every last one of you. You know I love you to bits, and if you're new here, thank you for joining the stream. If you just got in, please check it out on the replay. And we've done a lot of really cool stuff of making this door knocker. Again, I'm making the door knocker tonight for the Good of the Land Fest. It's my donation item to the Veterans Auction there to take and help benefit vets. So it's one of the things I was making to take over to the Good of the Land Fest. So I will be there next weekend at the Good of the Land Fest, all the way out in Temple, Texas. So I'll be out in Temple, Texas next weekend. So if you are out west, near Texas, near Temple, Texas, again, go to the link in the description down below and check out the Good of the Land Fest, and you know, get your ticket or whatever. Make your travel arrangements if you want to come hang out with me for the day. That'll be a great time. I'll be doing this again, kind of live demonstration. This is just my general concept of the thing I'm going to be making again, and then I've got other things where I'm just going to do some hands-on teaching and helping other people out and things like that. So it ought to be a good time. I do thank everybody for joining us in the stream. And did we give away the last 5 sticker bundles? We forgot, didn't we? Okay, well, for the ones that stayed till the end, you are so very lucky. Let's go ahead and pull this up here again. Sticker bundles, again, thank you all for joining us. We're going to take and give these away. Again, thank you to Dana Maggiore for sending these over to us so this way we can do that. And Jessica's going to take and draw somebody at random here. We've got 5 more packs here, sticker bundle packs to give away tonight. And you don't have to do anything for them other than just be here in the stream. So thank you all for sticking with us if you enjoyed the content. But let's go ahead and draw one random winner.
And button, there we go. Okay. And Daniel Crawford, by the way, yes, definitely bring your wife to the Good of the Land Fest. She is more than welcome. We would love to meet her too. All right, I landed on Ouroboros Armory, and she's commenting, I think, to someone else, so I won't read off her comment.
Okay, congratulations, Ouroboros Armory. Get us your information so we can ship you some stickers if you want some stickers. You are a winner. So get us your information. Links in the description to where you can go contact us to send us your address, and we will make sure we send this out to you. I'll take and show those off again. Boom, just like that. They're nice, they're very nice stickers. Go on, let's draw one more. Well, draw a couple more.
This next one is Ernie Beeswick and says, just got in from the forge and I caught what you said at the end. Sometimes it ain't worth it. I know I have a couple of neighbors mad at me for working so late, and I know I'll hear all about it tomorrow.
I'm waiting for her to get done pressing the button. Anyways, Ernie Beeswick. Congratulations, sir. You're the next winner. Come on down. Anyways, yeah, send us your information, send us your address and stuff. You've won a sticker pack. Congratulations, sir. Next person.
The next one is Blades Out Now, says, love all your videos. Thanks to the both of you.
Awesome. Congratulations. Blades out now. Yep. Congratulations. Hope you enjoy your sticker pack. Again, get with us with your address so we can ship them to you. There's 4 stickers that come in a pack. Is that correct, Jess?
Those only have 3 because we are short on the black round ones, and I already had the rest packed up for the good of the Land Fest. So.
Okay, well, there you have it. So go ahead and draw another name, Jess. Okay. Let's hurry up and get these people out of here.
All right, Ben Toombs says, hey, Caitlin. And I don't know if you've...
Ben Toombs won?
Yes.
Congratulations, Ben Toombs.
And if you...
I think we already have your address.
Okay. And lastly, it will be possum sausage.
I love the name, man. She's tripped me up every time she's said a question from you tonight. Possum sausage. Congratulations. You want a sticker pack. Again, send us your information to where you want us to ship these to, and we will. Thank you all so much for being a part of the stream. Really can't say that enough. We do appreciate you. We appreciate everybody who donated via Super Chat tonight. We appreciate everybody who donated via PayPal Donate the last stream. That really does go a long way. It really does to take and help us produce these streams. This helps us be able to do giveaways and things like that. It helps me to even, again, go and support other streamers and other smiths that are streaming online as well. Your dollars do go to a good cause that way, and we do appreciate it. It allows us to put on these high quality streams, and we just really can't thank you enough. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for all those that shared this video around this stream, and we look forward to going live again when we get back from the Good of the Land Fest. We do appreciate you, and hopefully we'll see some of you all there. Huh?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep. Is that it?
Yep.
All right. So without further ado, I'm going to let you all get on to your evening. God bless each and every last one of you out there this weekend. I really hope you have a great weekend and have a lot of fun in the forges. And as always, we'll take and catch you all on the next one. So, bye now.
Good night.
Good night.